After being a Dark Souls fan for over 4 years now, and a pretty big fan of anime, I really wanted to start reading Berserk. But I wanted to read it in physical copies. And recently my cousin bought me the first volume of Berserk, and I decided I would document my journey throughout Berserk. The first volume begins with Guts being intimate with a demon lady that tries to eat him, but he kills her instead. Then we see him coming into a town and into a bar where some hooligans are trying to kill a fairy. While in pursuit of information from these guys, he kills half of the bar and saves the fairy that becomes his companion. Immediately what I can see that he is depicted as a really edgy character just by this one shot. Then he leaves the bar and gets into trouble with authorities that arrest him and take him to a dungeon where he is tortured for killing those men because it seems they belong to some lord that is really strong and the mayor of this town is scared of him. The mayor comes to talk to Guts, but he just indirectly tells him that he doesn't care that his whole town is going to be killed by this lord, for which Guts is burned with a hot iron, and after the torture they throw him into a prison. Meanwhile, we get to see this lord and find out why Guts is after him. Because he is not human. He kills the mayor of the town and prepares for an assault. Guts wakes up in his jail with some weird creature sleeping next to him. To me, it looks like some fucked up raw turkey. The fairy that Guts helped gives him the keys of his cage and Guts escapes. Interesting thing, before he gets out, his weird brand or a scar on his neck starts to bleed. The demon that Guts is trying to kill gets to the town and starts killing everyone, but Guts interferes with his plans. He shoots a dozen of men with his automatic crossbow and also manages to get a couple of shots on the demon that he is hunting. But because that thing is a demon, he doesn't die even when he stuffs his body full of bolts. After this attack, the demon transforms into his true form, hitting Guts in the process. He starts tossing Guts around with his tail and breaking his bones. After he thinks he killed Guts, he picks him up and prepares to eat him, but in that moment Guts pulls a whole fucking cannon out of his metal arm and blasts the demon's head open, after which he cuts him in half. While the demon is still barely alive, we get many interesting names and details. One, that the mark that Guts has on his neck is called the Mark of Sacrifice, and for some reason this demon is scared of it or merely stunned by it. Number 2, Guts is hunting members of Godhand, which is like a religion involving 5 individuals, and that this demon that he just killed is an apostle, which has a big religious meaning since apostles are the 12 disciples chosen by Jesus Christ. And he tells Guts that apostles are not meant to know where the God Hand is. After that, Guts burns the demon and walks away. After this battle, Guts is again on a journey to some unknown place, and while traveling, an old man on a cart stops him and offers him a ride, which Guts refuses at first, but then accepts the kind offer. While he is riding, he falls asleep and has a nightmare of some strange hallway above which there is a giant eye watching him, and when he wakes up, a demon is found on him. This demon is known as Incubus. He gives men nightmares. It's a demon born from blood and lustful fluids. While he was sleeping, they found themselves on an old battlefield from which a group of skeletons starts to rise up. And of course, Guts starts fighting them and kills them all, but in the attack, the old man is killed by his daughter, which got turned into an undead after getting stabbed. After the battle, Guts tries to rest on his blade, and in that moment, the forest, or better said, the demons that are hiding in the forest, start taunting him until he fires his hand cannon and leaves. In the next panel, we see Guts walking into an execution site carried out by the Inquisition. On the site of the execution, there is a high priest that is commanding this execution. When Guts comes near him, his brand starts to bleed, and if we connect 2 dots together, we can assume that this priest is also a demon. Guts grabs the head of the woman that was executed, draws his brand on it, and throws it at the priest, which he counts as a declaration of war. After this heretical act, the guards of the town are ordered to kill Guts, and they corner him in an alleyway, where Guts once again kills a dozen men by cutting them into pieces, but he starts to get overwhelmed, which leads to him using his smoke bombs, and while trying to escape, an old man helps him. This man leads him into his workshop and confirms what we already knew, that the priest is not human. And we also find out why this man saved Guts. It's because of revenge. This priest tortured the man, cutting him into pieces and deforming him, and now he wants Guts to kill that demon. And when Guts accepts to kill him, or rather he was planning to do that either way, the man shows him a secret room where we find a thing that surprises Guts. It's a orb-looking thing with a mouth and an eye called a behelit. And that's the end of the first volume. Things I wrote down. Behelit. Something that Guts is afraid of, the brand of sacrifice, spawns or attracts demons when near a strong demon, starts to bleed. Godhead, a organization formed from 5 individuals, and apostles. For now, that's it. See you again in the next volume.